The rain and the refugee story of desperation and unexpected protection. The rain fell in sheets across the city streets, turning the neon lights into blurred streaks of color against the dark pavement. Sarah Bennett stood under the thin awning of a closed bookstore, clutching her 3-month-old son, Michael, against her chest. Her arms ached from holding him for so long, but she didn't dare put him down. She had been running for hours. Her wet hair clung to her face, and her thin jacket did little to protect either of them from the cold November rain. Michael whimpered softly, and Sarah rocked him gently, whispering soothing words she didn't quite believe herself. "It's okay, baby," she murmured. "We're going to be okay." But she knew that wasn't true. Derek, her ex-boyfriend and Michael's father, was somewhere in this city, looking for her. She had seen him earlier, standing outside her friend's apartment building where she had been hiding for the past week. The restraining order meant nothing to him. It never had. Sarah's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out with trembling hands and saw another text message. The words made her blood run cold. "I know you're out there, Sarah. You can't hide forever. Michael is my son too." She turned off the phone completely, her heart hammering in her chest. Derek's definition of fatherhood involved control, intimidation, and violence. She had the fading bruises to prove it. Leaving him 6 weeks ago had been the hardest and bravest thing she had ever done. But tonight, she was beginning to wonder if bravery was enough. The street was nearly empty at this late hour. A few cars passed by, their headlights cutting through the rain. Sarah pulled Michael closer, trying to shield him from the weather. He was so small, so innocent, so completely dependent on her to keep him safe. That's when she saw the car. It was a sleek black sedan, expensive and pristine despite the rain. It had pulled up to the curb about 20 feet away, the engine still running. Through the rain-streaked windows, Sarah could see a figure in the driver's seat, a man, alone, looking at his phone. Sarah's mind raced. She needed to get off the street. She needed shelter, even if just for a moment. She needed to think, to figure out her next move. Derek could appear at any moment. Before she could talk herself out of it, Sarah ran toward the car. The rain soaked through her clothes completely, and Michael began to cry. She reached the passenger window and tapped on it desperately. The man inside looked up, startled. Even through the rain-blurred glass, Sarah could see his sharp features and dark eyes. He looked surprised, then cautious. "Please," Sarah called out, her voice barely audible over the rain. "Please, I need help. Can I hide in your car? Just for a few minutes, please." The man stared at her for what felt like an eternity. Sarah could see him taking in her appearance, the soaked clothes, the crying baby, the desperation written across her face. She held her breath, waiting. The lock clicked and the door opened. Sarah didn't hesitate. She slid into the passenger seat, cradling Michael against her as she pulled the door shut. The sudden warmth of the car's interior made her realize just how cold she had been. She sat there, dripping water onto the leather seats, trying to catch her breath. "Thank you," she gasped. "Thank you so much. I just need a few minutes. I'm sorry about your seats. I'm so sorry." The man beside her was silent. Sarah finally turned to look at him properly. He was probably in his late 30s, with dark hair slicked back from his face and a strong jawline. He wore an expensive suit, and there was something commanding about his presence, something that made the air in the car feel charged with unspoken authority. "Who were you running from?" he asked. His voice was calm, measured, with a slight accent Sarah couldn't quite place. Sarah hesitated. "My ex, he's single quotes S. Dangerous. I have a restraining order, but he doesn't care. I saw him earlier, and I've been trying to get away ever since." The man's eyes moved to Michael, who had quieted slightly in the warmth of the car. "The baby is yours." "Yes, his name is Michael. He's 3 months old." Sarah's voice cracked. "I'm trying to protect him. I'm trying so hard, but I don't know what to do anymore." The man was quiet for a moment, his hands resting on the steering wheel. Sarah noticed his hand strong with a ring on one finger that looked heavy and significant. "What's your name?" he asked Sarah. "Sarah Bennett." "Sarah," he repeated, as if testing how it sounded. "My name is Antonio Russo, and you should know something before you make the decision to stay in this car." Sarah's heart skipped. There was something in his tone that made her nervous. "I'm not a good man," Sarah, Antonio continued, his eyes fixed on the rain-streaked windshield. "I run certain operations in this city, operations that exist outside the law. Most people, when they learn who I am, they're afraid. They should be afraid." The words hung in the air between them. Sarah understood what he was saying without him spelling it out completely. This man was part of the Mafia. She was sitting in a car with someone who might be as dangerous as the man. She was running from Dot. She should have been terrified. She should have grabbed Michael and run back out into the rain. But something stopped her. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the fact that Antonio had told her the truth instead of lying. Or maybe it was the way he had looked at Michael, not with threat, but with something almost like concern. "Are you going to hurt us?" Sarah asked quietly. Antonio turned to face her fully. His dark eyes met hers, and she saw something unexpected there on her, perhaps, or a code that existed even in his dark world. "No," he said firmly. "I have many sins on my conscience, Sarah Bennett, but harming women and children is not among them. It never will be." A car passed by on the street, and Sarah instinctively ducked, her arms tightening around Michael. Antonio noticed. That's him, in that car. I don't know, maybe. I can't see clearly through the rain. Antonio pulled out his phone and made a call. He spoke in rapid Italian, his voice low and commanding. When he finished, he turned back to Sarah. I've made some arrangements. What's your ex's name? Derek Mitchell. But you don't have to address. Sarah hesitated, then gave him the address of Derek's apartment. Antonio made another call, again in Italian. When he hung up, he started the car. Where are we going? Sarah asked nervously. Somewhere safe. I own a building across town. There's an apartment that's empty and secure. You and your son will stay there tonight. Tomorrow, we'll discuss longer-term solutions to your problem. I can't afford. I'm not asking for money, Sarah. Then why are you helping me? Antonio was quiet for a long moment as he drove through the rain-slicked streets. Finally, he spoke, his voice softer than before. Many years ago, my sister was in a situation like yours. A violent man who wouldn't let her go. I was young then, powerless to protect her the way I should have. He paused. She didn't survive. So when I see a woman running through the rain with a baby in her arms, desperate for help, I think of her, and I do what I couldn't do then. Sarah felt tears welling in her eyes. I'm sorry about your sister. So am I. They drove in silence for a while, the only sound the rhythm of the rain and Michael's soft breathing. Sarah felt something shift inside her, not trust. Exactly, but a cautious hope that maybe, just maybe, she had found an unexpected ally. The apartment Antonio brought them to was small but clean and warm. He showed Sarah where everything was, then handed her a business card. My number is on there. If Derek comes near you again, you call me immediately. Do you understand? Sarah nodded, clutching the card. Why are you doing all this? Antonio looked at Michael, sleeping peacefully in Sarah's arms, then back at her face. Because some things are worth protecting, he said simply, and because every child deserves to grow up without fear. As he turned to leave, Sarah called out softly, Antonio. He paused at the door. Thank you for seeing us, for helping us. Antonio nodded once, then disappeared into the hallway. Sarah heard his footsteps fade away, and she was left alone with her son in the quiet apartment. For the first time in months, Sarah felt safe. She laid Michael down gently in the clean crib that had been provided, watching his small chest rise and fall with each breath. Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing the streets clean, and somewhere in the city, Derek Mitchell's world was about to get much more complicated, because he had made the mistake of threatening someone under the protection of Antonio Rousseau, and Antonio never forgot his promises.